Let's welcome to the show Texas Republican Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne. It's great to have you back on, Congresswoman. Why is Speaker Pelosi keeping the House out of Washington when we have suicide bombings and Americans still trapped in Afghanistan?
You know, that's a great question. That's a great question. It's a question that I know Leader Kevin McCarthy has asked, and I know a number of the GOP Congress members have been asking. Why are we on recess when you've got Americans stranded, when you are facing 5 days until a deadline, when we're pulling out of a country where we still have Americans stuck, where we still have our troops stuck, where we still have $85 billion of war equipment over there that the Taliban now has its hands on? It's a great question. We're fighting to get back into Congress. I today signed a letter along with a number of my colleagues asking that we have legislation that would prevent American withdrawal until we have every single American that wants to get out of that country. We need to be able to go back to D.C., debate these issues, and treat Congress as if it's actually a lawmaking body, and that's why we need to get back.
Congresswoman, the Republicans are accusing Nancy Pelosi of spending yesterday, a day when we lost 13 soldiers, of trying to change the media narrative to focus on vote reform, the vice president talking about climate change, and also the Speaker Pelosi talking about the Democrats' spending agenda, when it's about getting Americans home from Afghanistan.
They want to talk about anything that they can other than reality and what's actually going on in the world. They don't want to talk about what's going on our southern border. They don't want to talk about the hundreds of thousands of people coming over illegally, about the drugs that are coming over illegally. They definitely don't want to talk about what a travesty is happening in Afghanistan, especially after their cabinet was warned that this would happen. You know, if you pull out without a plan, you are going to see the takeover, the quick takeover of that country. You're going to see the death of Americans and U.S. troops. It's exactly what we've seen. And they want to talk about the trillions of dollars of spend. They want to talk about, you know, their Voter Rights Act, which is basically nothing more than a takeover of state rights at the federal government level. It's nothing more than taking away individual rights, states' rights, and making everyone dependent on the federal government. Those are the things that they want to talk about, because they definitely don't want to show what a weak administration this has been in front of not just the country, but the rest of the world.
So it means lawmakers are kept in the dark without briefings. It's difficult to brief members unless they can get to a secure location. And the information coming to lawmakers is fragmentary. You know, D.C. insiders, the media, The Economist magazine has already said this, that the real backstory of what's happening, too, is Pelosi's destruction of the Democrat Party, that for years Pelosi has hollowed out and demolished the moderate wing of the party because they rivaled her, using the Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee to threaten them with cutting off their election campaign funds if they go against her. So that's what's the real true story of the Democrat Party, is the centrist moderates have been gone. You don't see the Dick Gephardts or the Bill Bradleys anymore. And now you see this dramatic plunge in the president's approval ratings. You know, George Will is saying he hasn't seen the fastest drop since Herbert Hoover, and they could lose control next year. So we're in historic moments right now. What do you say?
Well, I'd say that she's definitely setting them up for that. When you've got extremists that are running your party and not people who are pragmatists that actually have the best interest of the country, who are completely unwilling to work with the other side of the aisle or other members of their party. I mean, on Monday and Tuesday, as we saw everything unwrapping and developing in Afghanistan, instead of being focused on that, you not only had Nancy Pelosi, but you also had the President of the United States, who were trying to whip their votes to spend trillions and trillions of dollars domestically on a budget that stood no chance of passing at that point. Instead of being focused on getting Americans out, they were more focused on spending dollars at home, wasting home. And is that setting them up for a 2022 failure on the House? Absolutely. But the fact is that you have extreme party.
Yeah, certainly. And, you know, the New York Times is revealing what it's all about, that this big tax and spend, quote, funding dozens of programs for Democrats and the president to campaign on. That was quite a reveal from the New York Times. All right, it's good to have you on, Congresswoman. Come back soon, okay?